Hi, everyone. Welcome to the post-screening panel discussion where you're going to meet a couple of the caregivers who feature in the Tight Knit series. Just to introduce myself, I'm Ashley Milne-Tyte. I'm the host and reporter for the 8 podcasts that are part of Tight Knit. And with me today, I have Julia Reagan, who directed the film you just saw, Enid and Mami. And we have with us Enid herself. Enid Mojica-McGinnis is with us today. And we also have Angelena Taylor, and Angelena features in one of the podcast episodes called Stepping Up, and that's about being a young caregiver who's looking after an older adult, in this case, her father. So Julia, I'm gonna, oh, and I should say that we will, any questions that come in, we'll be happy to take, but I'm gonna kick off first by going to you, Julia, and just asking you, how did you find Enid and her mum? What was that process? How did you know that Enid was the one?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, I started by looking through a lot of community organizations, looking at community centers, senior centers. I looked at some mosques, some churches. I reached out to the Hispanic Heritage Council of Buffalo, and they actually posted something like, someone's doing a documentary in the area about caregiving. If you'd like to participate, let us know. And Enid was the first person, I think actually the first email I got. And she was just so genuinely herself, even in that email, and so open and real and obviously busy, but really wonderful. And I think it really kind of stuck in my mind. I did talk to a lot of other people. We did so much research, so much wonderful casting with wonderful people. We could do like a series of documentaries about this, but Enid really stuck with me because, as you all just saw, she is so open and so kind of unapologetically herself, and so warm and wonderful. And I think in a documentary subject, that's really all one can ask for.
Enid, why? I'm just curious, because it is not everybody. I know the same goes for Angelena, but it's not everybody who would want to be part of something like this. They wouldn't want to put themselves and their family situation out there. What attracted you to this project?
What attracted me was the legacy, that it was a legacy, that I was leaving a legacy. I was leaving a gift for my mom, with my mom, for my sisters, and who can't be with me, even though they want to be with me and want to be able to help. I wanted to leave that for them. So it was a legacy. It was a legacy of who she is inside that body, no matter how much she struggles. I wanted that to be remembered, definitely.
Right.
Yeah. And before we go on, I just wanted to tell the deaf people, because I know they're all watching. I know they're all watching, and I just wanted to let the deaf people know that closed caption will happen. Okay, just letting you know, and thank you for watching this. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Julia, was there anything, well, I'm curious, had you ever worked with this subject matter before? Caregiving and older people?
I have not done a documentary about caregiving before, but I think, like so many people, was touched by it in a few different personal ways. And I think that's what really attracted me to the project. I saw my cousin was taking care of our cousin who had brain cancer, and is just such a superhero caregiver. And I saw for the first time a few years ago, when I came to help her out, like what happens, and how that life is, and how kind of wonderful caregivers are, and really how much they take on, and how little they complain, and kind of everything that happens in this role, and how you have to sort of feel like you can do anything because you have so much to do. And I think that it was a really important kind of inspiration for me. And so when this project came along, I was really excited to be a part of it, and to highlight these people who don't get a lot of attention normally.
Enid, what was it like for you? How did you, once you were the subject of a documentary and you had a crew coming to your house on a regular basis, and filming there's some really intimate scenes, right? We really are there. I mean, how did that feel?
It felt, I thought it was very important to highlight those areas, because those are the areas that not just me, but I can't tell you how many people are out there. I'm just a representative of so many that are out there that do those everyday things and just don't get recognized or anything. I actually felt like you're giving too much camera space to me. Give it to my mom, who, that's where I just felt. And but and the others, but because there were so many, there's so many people that have gone through this. But how it felt, the intimate part, I wanted the realness of who she is, and she was not ashamed at all. She it was okay with her. I wouldn't have not ever done anything without her if she felt uncomfortable at all. And I just said she was okay with it.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, she wanted to take her off her robe, and Julia has said, it's not that kind of film. Like, no, mommy, we're okay. We're going to cover you up. Not to worry. We're going to make sure that you're going to be covered. And so, but I mean, she has so much to say and so much to give to others. That I wanted to make sure that was said, that was shown, but yet at the same time she still needs help with a lot of things, and grooming is one of them. Like, being able to just to care for herself is one of them.
Julia, was there anything when you in the process of filming, was there anything that really surprised you, that that you didn't expect that happened, or that you learned that you totally hadn't thought about?
Yes. I mean, I think, what really surprised me first and straight off the bat was how open Enid and the family were to us coming into, to their lives. I think that, in documentary, it takes a while, of course, to build a rapport with people that you're filming, and obviously trust. Just like any relationship, you need to have the trust there in order to film. And I think what really surprised me was, from day one, Enid was like, come into my house, let me show you around, and I think, even though that was, it's kind of a general thing, but I think that the openness and the genuine, like, okay, you want to do a film about this? Like, I want to honor my mother by doing this film, so let me show you everything that goes on. And I think that openness is something that's invaluable and so wonderful about Enid's personality, but surprising to me, because, usually it takes time to bond with anyone and to kind of get them to trust you. And I think Enid's openness is one of her best qualities, and one of, the best things about this film. And so I think that was the most surprising thing to me at first, was that I was really welcomed in with open arms. Obviously not everything was super easy at first, I think, but, I mean, there's a couple, just quickly, there's like one thing that I thought was really funny is, as you're filming these type of things, I was, you're asking to film in all these different scenarios, right? In people's lives and in different things. And I was like, Enid, I know something that's really important to you is your time alone. I know that's really intimate. Like, could we film that time? I know that that's something that's sacred. And so, like, how do we do it? Like, maybe we're in the corner, maybe we just leave the camera in there, maybe we'll just do it and like have you just at peace, not saying anything. But her alone time, just like all caregivers, you find that place that you can be alone, that you can be with yourself, that you can be with your thoughts, and for Enid, that is, it's in her bathroom. And so it's an intimate thing. And I think that Enid is like so wonderful and open, and she allowed us to do that after talking about it. She's like, well, so why is this important to film? I'm like, I know.
But no, because I think there are many caregivers who retreat to the bathroom. I mean, let's face it, it's kind of the only place sometimes where you can shut the door and get some privacy.
Totally.
It's the throne room.
The throne room. Right.
Throne room.
Look, and now I should just say that we've briefly lost Angelena due to technical difficulties, in case anyone's wondering. But in the meantime, a question's come in for Enid. Now, Enid, it's kind of a big question, but the question is, how might we be able to help caregivers like you from a systemic perspective? Like, is there a sort of systemic solution that people could help support that would help caregivers like you?
You know, it's when I think what happens is like when something's happened, like for instance, like when I'm late to school, for instance, or late to my job, or late to something, it's not because I'm being careless. It's because, you know, some like a whirlwind happened beforehand, and I just had to come down from that before I can serve others. When I serve others, I do give of my all. I do. But it's just the time before. That is the key. Don't always assume that not, you know, people were nonchalant and didn't care. I think that's a big one. I think that's a big one, because by the time you finish with the big worldness of what just happened, you get to that point like, I just need a cup of coffee. And somebody would say, well, you're late because you got a cup of coffee. Like, you know, and I'm like, no, I needed to start all over again.
Right.
Or, you know, it's just that, and that may be like very minimal, but that's it. That's it. I also love to worship. So if I'm listening to music, it's because I'm there. I am in the presence of God, and I need to be there. And so it's not that I'm just trying to steal time here and there. It's like, no, I just need this so that I can go on. So how others can help, it's just acknowledgement, the acknowledgement of knowing that I know what it was that you just went through. That we don't need to talk about it, but I understand. Do what you have to do, and then get yourself together and move forward.
I'm assuming that your work knows of your situation. I'm assuming that, but maybe I'm wrong.
I have an amazing job. I really do. I love where I work. I work at St. Mary's School for the Deaf, and I love the people I work with. I have a unique job because I have, the times are flexible with me. I'm able to flex the time, so that I'm very unique in that situation. That has always worked for me, and it's worked for the parents. First of all, it's worked for them, and it's worked for me. And I think somebody's coming over here.
Ah.
So they're very understanding about it. Before I took care of Mom, I had to handle my dad and my sister. So there she is.
Hey, there's Julia, the star of the show. Hello.
Hola, Amelia.
She'll come on and off. Oh, she's giving you the love.
Sweet. She showed up at just the right time.
How could you not love that? I mean, how could you not?
Exactly.
She ate and had her coffee. I take it. You had your coffee?
My coffee, sure. Not coffee.
Always.
Another question's coming for you, Enid.
Uh-oh.
Well, this is just asking you, do you take advantage of any of the resources that are offered by social services in Buffalo, or by any of the sort of caregiver networks locally or nationally?
I don't take advantage of them because I did not know they were out there, what was out there. By the time I found out they were out there, I had already found solutions. That was one of them. When it says, for instance, like respite or something like that, you need to, it just gets very difficult just to make time for that. When I could let you know, like my sisters, they'll come in and they'll help. They come in and they try to help. And it's just faster just knowing that for me to do it than for me to show them how to do it. It's just quicker to do that. And it just takes less time and it's less stressful. It's just less stress. Like, let me just do it. And they're like, no, I want to do this for her. And I said, but it just takes more time. Like even like the littlest thing, like bathing her, you know, it's like she has a certain way. You don't want to change that. You don't want to change, you know, there's just different things that that I think a resource sometimes is hard. I did take advantage of the resource from the Ralph Wilson Foundation, which, by the way, I did not know this was when we were documenting this. I actually thought this was a college student that was doing this, and I was helping out a college student do a documentary for her project. But so I did not read the whole email when I responded to it, but it was really interesting because I just wanted to show all the going back, I did take advantage of the Ralph Wilson day hab for a day, and I have to say, I really loved it for others. For me, for my mom, I did not, because she did not have the access of the Spanish communication. And when I went back to pick her up, like, I felt like a little child. I felt like a mom letting go of her 4-year-old infant, to a school, having to turn my back and walk away from her. And then when I came back to pick her up, I mean, I get her dressed and her little hair and everything. And then when I come back to get her, she's sitting down and they're reading to her and she's telling me, like, shh, don't interrupt. But I know that she's not understanding anything that they're reading, even though it was beautiful what they were doing. And so I just felt, and it just broke my heart, not because of their service, but it was like, no, I need to be with her. I felt I needed to be with her. Like, I needed to be there. So I had done that during the summer of last year.
Right. Yeah, the language, it's another level. It's another level that you're having to bake into everything that you do. And I don't think, and I don't at all think you're alone in feeling like you need to do everything. I think that's very, very common amongst caregivers. I'm getting some more questions. So actually this one's for Julia. So Julia, after this experience, are you inspired to do other projects like this one?
Definitely. I mean, I think what is so inspiring about Enid and about this story is the depth of experience that happens sort of under the surface, that, everyone in Enid's life knows how much she does. If you meet Enid, you're going to understand that she does a lot of, she's a very busy person, but I think that there's this whole world of caregiving that really encompasses a lot of really inspiring things. And so I would love to do in the future. I mean, like I mentioned, even for this project, there's so many different stories. And I think Enid was an easy pick for me for this project because of, again, like I said, of her personality and her wonderful openness. But there's so many stories, and I think there's even people I still keep in contact with that we were talking to on casting that have really, really wonderful and unique stories, and that I think they think they're alone. And the biggest thing, right, about documentaries, like, you should show people who don't really get a voice that they're not alone, or you should show these stories that aren't usually heard, and you should put them out into the world. And so I think at the very base, that's the purpose of documentary. And so there's so many stories that people think, oh, well, nobody wants to see this because I'm the only one who goes through this. And you're like, no, so many people go through it. And you might think because, you're in a small community in this, big suburb or whatever it is, that you're alone, but you're not, So yes, I totally was inspired by this to do more projects.
Enid, the questions are pouring in for you. And actually there are a couple around your ministry. So how has your caretaking experience informed your ministry work and faith community leadership?
How has my what?
How has your caregiving experience informed your ministry work and your faith community leadership? Is there a connection between the two?
Oh, yes. It's service. It's service. It's service. It's meeting the needs and being able to be, being able to be an open door into a realm that just literally supplies everything, all our needs. And so being that realm, that door to that realm. So wherever I'm at, I look at it as I'm a door to that access of that next place, and being able to show them that. My ministry is that, because it's heaven on earth. It's the kingdom of God on earth. And so it's what we pray all the time. It's like, let your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And so it's that door that you become you become that open door for them to be able to serve them and be able to say there's more than what's in front of you. You just got to go through it.
There's also a question about you being the caregiver in your family. So obviously in a lot of families, there may be multiple siblings, but it often does end up being one person who is the person taking care of an older elderly parent. How do you, in your case, how do you feel about the fact that it's you?
It is one person, but I don't feel that way because, like for instance, when I had cameras all around the house in my mom's house, we took turns. My sister's in California, so she was able to. She had a set time to watch my mom at all hours of the night, and I would get the quick call and storm over there. And then she would call my mom to distract her. I have another one in Alabama. So she had her time with mom. And so everybody took quote unquote turns with the car. Everybody took turns watching her. And so it worked beautifully for us because she was watched 24 hours a day, 7 days a week until we couldn't, I just couldn't handle it anymore and said, you know what? She can come, she needs to come. And I wanted her to come a lot sooner. She wasn't ready. She was not ready. So I don't feel alone. I don't feel alone in that because I have like a avenue like Marco Polo where I would call my sisters and I just cry out to them and they listen well. And they know at that moment to pray and they know at that moment to just respond to me. So I don't feel alone. And I have a twin sister who flies up almost every other month. Like who is here all the time. So that helps me. Now traveling with her, that's another story. They love for me to travel over there. And I'm like, that is more work than you coming here.
Yeah.
Not only pack for her, I pack for my sister who's developmentally delayed, who she's taken care of for so many years. I've taken that on. So it's a lot more work. And so I asked them coming here. So we're trying to handle that. Like I know right now it's especially a hard time for them because this was the time we all got together and got that relief, that relief point. And so this is hard for all of them, and I'm like, I'm okay because I'm at home working from home. So I'm okay right now. This is a sweet spot. This is really a sweet spot.
Well, actually, that your mention of working at home brings me to COVID-19, which has obviously upended everyone's lives. But for you in particular, as someone, taking care of your mom, I'm very curious how did that affect you, especially when the lockdown happened? What happened? What changed in your house?
Well, because I coordinate the parent education program at St. Mary's, I work with parents. So what happened was they literally came into my home. I have been going into their homes for so many years. They came into my home. So I was finally able to connect with them. So it helped them. It helped me with my mom in like, even my time has changed. I wake up later now, which is nice. I'm like, wow, I'm almost afraid to go back because my time has changed for waking up. I noticed that I'm not as stressful. It's not as stressful in waking her up because I don't have that. The only time that I'm worried about is my Zoom time with the parents. And it's not stressful because they come on and, I come on with them and I'm like, this is life. This is life. And I teach them this. I adapt it to their lessons because it's their life too. They have kids running around all day that they're trying to teach and to sit in front of a Zoom camera. And so it's helped us give those signs of communication and help me teach them better. I actually work a lot more now from home than I did having to go to work and being stressful about it. But so it's worked nicely. It has worked nicely for us. Now the technology, that's another question, like having to learn all that. The first few weeks was very difficult.
Well, and I want to throw that one to Angelena because thankfully we've got Angelena back. And Angelena is also a teacher. She's a special ed teacher. But Angelena, how has it been for you during COVID-19 and particularly the lockdown portion where you are? How has that affected your sort of day-to-day caregiving with your dad?
For our day-to-day, it's switched up a whole lot from what our typical day-to-day was beforehand. I had actually had hired help that was coming in, a caregiver aide that was coming in since maybe about a month or so into me originally starting to care for my dad. So we had our caregiver for, a few months coming in from early 2016 up until like right at the start of the COVID lockdown, just because both myself and my dad felt more comfortable with, it just being us and being uncertain of how like everything, how the disease spreads and everything. So I went from, being able to leave to go to work every day, knowing that the caregiver came in to help him. I was here and still am here 24/7. But it was interesting to kind of get into a new groove with everything, because previously I was getting up at about 6 to get up to go to work, to head out to the school. He'd still be asleep until the caregiver would get here. The both of us would end up being able to sleep in for COVID. So if I didn't have any meetings until about 9-10 o'clock, then I would take advantage of that every single time, because I was used to having to be up for, doctor's appointments, taking him to his appointments in therapy, or having to go to work and everything. So it was nice to, it was pretty nice to be able to start sleeping in. I had to kind of coordinate my times with when I was going to give him breakfast, or, if I had students that asked at the last minute to, have a tutoring session or something. So I had to kind of learn how to navigate that from, okay, dad needs me right now. I have students that are texting me, Miss Taylor, I need you. Can you log on the computer right now? So it worked out. But we'll see how things go when the new semester starts this new school year starts in a few weeks.
But what about not having that aid? Because you had that relief. It meant that you didn't have to do absolutely everything. And I know your dad needs a lot of help in many, many things. So I'm assuming you've actually got more work to do on a daily basis with your dad than you did before.
Yes, for sure. It gets very, there's definitely a strain there, because I'm used to having that, relief of, oh, okay, no, I know his caregiver's in there taking care of that for me for a little bit until, I can, get to whatever else after she leaves or whatnot. But now it's just a consistent, if he normally doesn't, ask me for certain things throughout the day, there's a more, because he knows that I'm here, there's a more consistent, oh, you're here, so you can do this right now, or, oh, you're here, I need, certain things, which I don't mind, but I kind of try to get a little bit more of a routine with it, so it doesn't feel like I'm on like 24/7, even though I'm actually on pretty much 24/7. But there's been different periods where, like as we discussed when I did my interview, that, I battle with depression and anxiety a lot. So I try to like spend some time to kind of like gather myself and try to separate everything, because it does, carry a lot when you have to run in here, do this, you have to log on the computer and do this. And there's like just that constant period where you're just on the go, on the go, on the go. So I've had periods of burnout for sure, but I've been continuing my therapy sessions with my counselor. So that's been helpful through this whole COVID period.
Yeah. I just want to ask each of you actually, so Enid first, do you, when you hear the word caregiver, like, do you think of yourself as a caregiver? Have you always done so since you started taking care of your mum? Or do you just think I'm a daughter? I'm a daughter doing my thing for my mother? And
I actually look at it as I'm a daughter taking care of my mom. Caregiver is or the person that came in a month ago, for me, that came in to relieve me during the day. I do have, to me, that's the caregiver. I'm being a daughter, and this is my responsibility, but not just, it's an awesome responsibility. I don't want to let go of that. It's an awesome honor and responsibility to be able to take care of my mom. I have my sisters who are very envious of the fact that it's like I've hogged her up, but it's an honor. And yeah, I go through my hard times, just like Angelena has gone through the hard times. You go through those moments, but then you you remember who you are in this position and saying, okay, okay, like there are people that don't get this opportunity, and I'm just so grateful that I'm not only that I have the opportunity, but I'm able to do it, that I'm very much able to do it. So
Angelena, what about you? Have you always identified as a caregiver, or not? Do you think of yourself more as your dad's daughter?
I feel like it has changed. Initially, I didn't until I started coming across like the different family caregiver support groups, and it's like, do I identify as a caregiver? Because like I, always refer to the hired caregiver that comes in. I always refer to her as the caregiver, but getting like a more perspective on like an increased perspective on how everyone else kind of like views themselves and what everyone else in society kind of views us as. I do, typically refer to myself as a daughter who cares for her father, but then I do, take on that role as a family caregiver. And I do, advocate for that as well when, talking to other people and being involved with caring across generations and with my pageant platforms and everything. So I kind of identify as, both.
Right. Yeah, we should say that Angelena's competed in several beauty pageants, and she still is. So that's when she's used that as a platform to discuss caregiving, especially among younger people. So, and part of the reason I asked that question about identity is because Enid, another question came in for you about, well, do you think how do you think that some of these organizations that cater to caregivers, how do you think they could help themselves become known to you, essentially? Because you had said, well, I just didn't know about them. But perhaps, would you say that part of you not knowing about them is that you didn't identify as a caregiver, so you weren't looking? I mean, I don't want to assume anything, but I wonder if the two are tied together.
I can say that by the time I was able to diagnose her, it took a process to diagnose her, first of all, because she was very unwilling. I had to do tricks like take her to Puerto Rico to get tested and have a good friend of mine test her and do those tests to then get her diagnosed. So by the time I came back here to Western New York after our trips, I would bring the product, the test, and say, this is what I have. And so they would refer me to a counselor. When I would meet with the counselor, I had already done those things because I was already looking for those things. As a parent coordinator, you start to look for those kind of resources. However, I was using what I've already taught my parents to apply to me, to my situation. So I did not look for the resources until it was too late. Now, how we can make those resources more available is avenues like this right here, like this platform right here, avenues like letting people know, even if I think that we should be more of preventative-ish a platform than you're walking through it, your caregiving. Let people know that before you get to this stage will come to the majority of us. It will come, it will happen. So let us look at this as part of, like we do as for savings, like we do as for, for savings for those rainy days, like we do as other things, as college funds for our children. Let's look at these avenues as to where do we go beforehand as a preventative measure, instead of somewhere like I need help and all of a sudden you're desperate and you feel like every door is shutting on you because I did that. And that's where I think that's what is the key here. If I would have known these platforms way before, it would have helped me with my dad. It would have helped me so much before. I had to look for like services for my sister, because my mother had raised my sister and she was in no program. So I had to put her in a program. I had to first get her diagnosed again, to put her in a program, to then, to then give her services. When I got rid of that problem, I dealt with my dad. If I would have known these services were out there way beforehand, I would have studied them way beforehand. Right. Way beforehand. But we only, I communicate with the people in my job and they're like, oh, I used to work here. And I'm like, okay, let me connect with it, and then realize I already did that. I already did that. I already did that. You know, that.
Just quickly, we just have a couple of minutes left, but I'm actually I'm gonna throw this one to Angelena because we saw the film, so we know that you and your mum have your moments, many moments of joy and happiness. Angelena, for you, you're in a different situation because you are so much younger than many other caregivers, but do you and your dad have a laugh? Are there moments of fun and happiness between you?
Always. I always tell my dad that it would be interesting if we had our own reality show, because we have like so many little comical moments. We're always teasing with each other. We're always, just finding little ways to get at each other. And then when you add Blue into the mix, my cat that is on the thumbnail for my story for the podcast, it makes for lots of comedy. So we do tend to find our moments, and then it's when we have those tense moments where it's like we're getting on each other's nerves, we always kind of circle it back where one of us will start egging the other on and start making some sort of joke to kind of lighten the mood back up.
That's great. Thank you. And thank you so much, all three of you, for taking part in the panel. It's been really lovely to meet those of you I hadn't met before and to talk to you. And thanks everyone for the questions. And just to remind everyone watching that there is another screening. So on Thursday of this week at 1 p.m, there's another screening and panel for the second short documentary we have as part of Tight Knit, which is called Today Was a Good Day. And Enid Mami, the film, is joining all the other content on the website tightknit.org. And on that site, you'll also find all 8 podcasts that are part of the series. And of course, with the podcast, they're on Apple Podcasts, they're on multiple podcast apps, and they're also featured on Spotify. So no reason not to listen. And the whole, obviously Julia would say this as well, the whole point we made this series was to help people, because we know there are lots of people out there who perhaps are just doing their thing. They don't know what's available to them. They feel alone, even though they are so not alone. So please watch the films, listen to the podcasts, and share them with other people who you think would like to hear them.